Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Ministry Journey. And today I've got a young woman in ministry. She could be my daughter. Her name is Susan Deborahs. She's
Mhm.
a wife. She's an author. She's co-pastor along with her husband of a church called A New Thing London. She's a
Mhm.
speaker, content creator, and founder of a women's meeting forum called Coffee and Prayer. Welcome, Deborah. I'm really
Thank you.
excited about talking to you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. So you're a young woman in ministry, which is
Mhm.
a great thing to be called by God when you're young. So my first question to you is, when did you get called into ministry, and how did you go about preparing for ministry?
When did I get called into ministry? So I got saved when I was around 18, 19. And to be quite honest, when I got saved, I wasn't really getting into it for, ministry per se. I just wanted God, and I didn't really understand the mechanics of ministry and everything that goes into it. I just knew that I knew how to sing. And so I joined the choir. I just wanted to serve God. And
Sorry,
that was
what church
about
did
it.
you get saved into?
I actually got saved at Ruach.
Okay.
Yeah, because at that time a lot of my friends or the people that I was connected to would sometimes go to the youth service. So yeah, so I went to one of the youth services and I gave my life to Christ then. And so I just came in with just this desire, like I want to use my gift, to serve God in whichever way is my way of thanks, because I'd been through a lot up until that point. And I was dealing with a lot of pain and hurt. And so over the process of time, there were moments where I felt like, okay, cool, there might be, this ability to speak, but I was afraid of speaking. I didn't like speaking in front of people. I was extremely shy. But when I would open my mouth, I knew that there was something powerful or something like revolutionary about what I had, gained from God. And so over the process of time, when I went to my next church, I was kind of pushed to do exhortations and stuff like that, which was away from the whole singing thing that I was used to.
Okay. So there's
And
been a
that's when
progression.
yeah, so it was
Okay.
progressive. And so after some time, that's when I was like, okay, actually, God, I'm kind of seeing what you're doing here. Even when it came to prophetically as well, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, there is a grace here. And I really feel you on this. And so, yeah, that's when I began to really, I guess, develop. But I would have to say that preparation for me at that time looked like serving.
Right. Well, it
In
seems
what
like you've been on a journey, so
hmm
you've developed
Yeah,
at each stage. So I just want to pick you up on something. You talked
yeah.
about when you became a Christian as a young woman, you
hmm
had experienced a lot of challenges. Can you
hmm
kind of just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so when I was 7, I lost my mom passed away. I didn't know my dad, but he passed away before I could even, connect with him or really know him. And so I was the only child between my parents. And so shortly after that, I would moved with relatives, and that was a very abusive household.
Oh,
And then I moved to stay with another set of relatives, and again
okay.
there was abuse. And so yeah, so I had quite a tumultuous upbringing in terms of where emotional, sexual, mental abuse was involved. And then at 16 I was made homeless. And so I was just sofa surfing and, trying to work things out whilst going to college as well. I was studying for my A levels at the time. And so, yeah, I think by the time I think I got to this place where I was just tired. I'd never had a form of stability since my mom had passed away. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of, and it was funny to me because I always knew that there was a God. I did have encounters with church. I was in households, involved in households that were involved in church, but I was kind of disconnected from it only because I just couldn't really reconcile how this God would allow me to go through the things that I had been through, And so when I did, I was in my hostel, I was depressed, and I just remember a voice, which now I know was God, just telling me go to church. And so I
Ah,
did. Yeah, so I
okay.
did. And so that's where the journey began for me.
Okay. Wow. What a
Yeah.
story. What a
Yeah.
story.
That's the
So
short version. That's a very short,
it
concise version.
was very well put. It was very well put. So how would you describe the purpose of your ministries? Because I shared previously the things that you do. You do a lot of things. What would you say is the key mission of your ministry?
I would say one of the key missions is I believe that I am here. I would say it in two ways. The church mission, if I was going to say in church form, would say I would see myself like a Moses. Like I am called to take people from a place of bondage into a place of freedom, into a place of promise. So I believe that whatever I do, my mission is that if you are in a state of brokenness, in a state of pain, confusion, that whatever message that I have to deliver is going to transfer you to that place of promise. But if I was going to say it in this culture, I would say that this is where faith meets culture in some senses, that I'm bridging the gap between, the church and what people would call the world or the secular space, really bringing a clarity and an understanding of how faith can actually transform your life, like from the inside out, that our faith does not just reside in what we do in the four walls of church, but it does have the ability to transform us and to change and shift our lives in a way that we would have never imagined. So that's the two missions that I would say
Okay.
the
So
church version.
you're for the church, but you're praying and hoping and working towards the fact that people outside the church can see
Mm.
that there is something within the gospel message and within your church for them and your ministry, of course.
Yeah, like I get a lot more. I especially with coffee and prayer and stuff, even with our church, we have a lot of unchurched people, a lot of people that come that don't actually look like what I came from or where I got saved from, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like, and there's more of an attraction there, maybe because, I'm a millennial. I don't, the way that I translate my message is not in the usual way. And so we attract a lot of people that are outside of the church. And so I feel like I have to give language that would be understanding to them, as to why faith is such a should be a prevalent part of their life.
Brilliant. Okay.
Mm.
You're a young ministry leader. I found
Mhm.
out today that you're a co-pastor as well. And
Yeah.
I'm going to assume because you have one aspect of your ministry is towards women, that
Hmm.
quite a number of young women or millennials, let me say millennials, follow your
Hmm.
ministry. What,
Yeah.
in your view, are the major challenges faced by young women today? And how does your ministry help them overcome those challenges?
Mm. I would say identity. Identity is one of the key things that I believe really, really affect all women. Simply because we are given so many roles, so many responsibilities, and it's really, I guess, those things have the tendency to frame and shape our identity, especially our experiences as well, the labels that society will put on us, the limitations, the restrictions that would be put on us. And so I would say identity is such a key thing, that is a key theme that I come up against, anytime that I'm ministering to women or speaking to women. And so I feel like, especially coffee and prayer, I believe, is a space, for women to be free in undoing themselves from the usual traditions, from the usual labels, and really, really grabbing a hold of what God has to say about them, what God has to say about who they can become as well, really taking off the lid off of their lives and really giving them a form of, I guess, giving them the confidence to live freely in their God-given identity and calling. And I think that that's when we talk about identity in terms of like the world, is totally different when it comes to identity in the eyes of God. And so I would say that's one of the key things that I believe that women really struggle with.
Okay, let me ask you another question in relation to that. And it's in
Mm,
relation to what you said, that when you came to Christ, you were quite broken. Are you
mm.
finding that women who come to your ministry, not only are they dealing with identity issues, but they're feeling broken as well?
Yeah, I think it's brokenness, it's pain, it's and it's a lot of the things that when I came into when I gave my life to Christ, there was a lot of conversations we weren't having. We weren't having conversations about women struggling with porn. We weren't having conversations about women like it wasn't outward anyway. There weren't discussions about it like that. We weren't having discussions about women, and postpartum depression. We weren't, there wasn't a mic on that, at that time. And so I feel as though, like, as things have progressed in this day and age and stuff, and the conversation has enhanced extremely over the process of time, yes, there has been a mic on those issues. And I feel like a lot of the issues that women struggle with now, yes, it's pain, yes, it's brokenness, but a lot of it is like just a deep struggle, a deep shame with what they're struggling with. And so I feel like, my position or my role is to put a microphone on some of the things that are very, very taboo in the church.
Okay, so tell me some more taboo issues that you're touching on before we move to the
um
next question.
No, so for coffee and prayer, we've had several conversations. Like we have a section called conversations. We've spoken about sexuality and faith, and we've had two events centered around that. So the first one was about the struggle with sexuality and having a real conversation about that. Same sex attraction. You know, like actually struggling to not have sex. You want to honor God, you want to serve God. Pornography, issues with pornography, the increase of women actually being addicted to pornography is crazy. We've had sex in marriage, we don't talk about that. It's like we come into faith and it's just like find a husband, find a husband, find a husband, or it's almost like a novelty in the Christian faith. And then there is no conversation if you've saved yourself. And I wasn't a virgin when I got saved, and that was an area that I was most broken in. But if we're talking about, preparing for marriage, that should be a big conversation. Orgasms and all of that, sex in marriage. We've
So
spoken
you guys
about.
go in.
Yeah, we go in sexy or saved. Like, how can a Christian woman still feel good, but not feel like, they're covered from head to toe? What's acceptable, what's not? Can a woman be sexy as a Christian? We have spoken about feminism and faith. Can a woman be a feminist, with the core beliefs of being a Christian? So we've had so many conversations, like layered conversations. We've spoken about motherhood and faith, like that conversation of the women are always at the back once they have the children, and then you're not really given the opportunity to fully step into ministry, the role of ministry, or to be involved like that, because now you've been given this, like, that's it, it's stopped for you. And so how do we navigate that? So I feel like a lot of it, like, the overall like theme or pattern is that, a lot of women behind closed doors are struggling with a lot of things, want to have a lot of conversations, but there's no opportunity for that. And so I feel like, yeah, that's one of the important things. I hope I answered the question,
No,
because I
you
could
have.
talk
So
about this.
coffee and prayer, conversation, deep conversation, layered
Yeah,
conversation about the issues that women are facing. Sounds really,
yeah.
really great. So what role has prayer, faith, and scripture played in the development and growth of your ministry?
Everything, I don't think I'll be able to do anything at this point without a deep relationship with the Lord, or shall I say friendship with God. I don't think I'll be able to do anything, or just a deep knowledge of the word of God as well, and a deep understanding of that. Because even though we have these conversations, and these conversations are good, my purpose in anything that I do is not just to have a conversation for the sake of having a conversation. The question is afterwards is, where does God sit in this? And I can't answer that if I'm not reading my Bible, if I'm not praying.
So it all goes back to the
It
Lord.
all goes back to that, even personal development and faith. How do the two come together? Like, how do I put that together and make that a way or a rhythm of my life? I can't give that answer without knowing the word or having that relationship with the Lord. So it is everything. And I feel like anything that I've done has not been done out of my own will. It's all been done because God has led me to do it, and that's an honor, but it also comes with a huge weight as well. So yeah.
Let me answer a question that's not listed. As
Mm.
a young woman, as a married young woman, as a
Mm-hmm.
woman who's got a little growing profile, do you find that women are jealous of you? And if so, have you encountered it? And how have you dealt with it?
I mean, we need to, if you want me to be real.
Be real, real.
Like, oh, that's such a, if I'm honest with you, I feel like it depends what women we're talking about. If we're talking about the women that I serve, then no, I've not experienced that. Maybe you may have women that are not used to having, especially more so in the Christian forum, in the church, they're not used to women being as strong or as bold as me in terms of what I'm doing, being on a roster full of men, like that's like, and I was having this conversation with someone the other day with another woman that's quite, leading strong. And I was saying, people expect you to just be first lady, just sit on the side. Do you know what I mean? But I'm preaching as well. I'm doing all of that, and I believe in order, I believe in honor and all of that. So that's not something, I'm not that type of woman, but I know my core, I know my place. And so I find that it's uncomfortable for women in the church, especially older women, to honor what I do, or to see me, as, I don't know, like, just to see me for who I am, and to honor that and respect that, and not ignore
Really?
me, when my husband's there. Like, it's just like, oh, hey, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've had very interesting
Oh, wow.
experiences.
That's a bit of a shame. Well, we'll
Yeah.
go on to that later on,
But yeah,
later
yeah,
on
yeah.
down. I wasn't
Well,
expecting you to say
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
No, sorry.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But when it comes to women in ministry here in the UK, that's a different conversation. I think that we have a lot of work to do. That's what I'll
Okay.
say to that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And part of the reason I asked that is because I wrote a column, a religious column,
Mm-hmm.
for many, many years. So it gave me a profile. And with profile as a Christian woman within a Christian context, all kinds of people come out of the woodwork. And
Mm.
sometimes, the way that people react to you, you're thinking, is it something wrong with me? Because it's not
Mm.
always positive. But looking back, you can maybe think, well, maybe it's a bit of jealousy. Maybe my
Yeah.
profile. Do you understand what I mean? But when
Definitely.
you're a young
Yeah.
person, you don't always understand that. So I find it interesting what you've just said. But we'll talk
Oh,
about that later on
okay.
down.
We'll talk. I'll hold the thought that I just had in my mind, because
But it's good to talk because
yeah,
as women in ministry we really need to be joining forces together. We also
of
need to
course.
be affirming and encouraging each other.
Of
You're the
course.
next generation, your women of your generation are battling different things, and I personally think you need the strength of the older ones and the
For sure.
experience to help you in that journey. But anyway, running a
Yes.
ministry is a walk of faith, and
Yeah.
every ministry faces challenges. What are the major challenges you faced in terms of your ministry as a woman sharing and teaching other women?
Um,
You might not have experienced any.
yeah, no, no, I can't say that I've experienced any. If there's any, it's more to do with me, you
Right,
know.
okay.
My I have to heal, I have to deal with me, as opposed to, yeah, other people.
Okay. Okay. So it seems like amidst the some of the things you're dealing with, it's kind of been a smooth road, sort of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would, I would, yeah, smooth. Okay, yeah, we'll go with smooth.
It's not been that bumpy. You've had your little challenges, but it's
Yeah,
not been
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
learning
yeah.
as you go and
Yes,
stuff.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the one. That's the one. So when I say as a young minister, I'm talking now young in age. I'm not talking about young in
Yes.
experience, because you've obviously been ministering ever since you became a Christian, because you started out off singing. There are, of course, older women who've walk the path that you are walking.
Yeah.
What kind of support, if any, would you like to get from your older sisters? And I'm taking the cue for that question from Titus 2, where it talks about the older women teaching the younger women. And we know that, simultaneously we are older and younger women. I might be mature to you, but there's someone older to me. Do you understand what I mean? So, and there's women that are younger than you that are looking up to you. So we kind of hold that position simultaneously.
Yeah. No, what would I desire? I think that just more women in, especially in ministry, but to be more open about the balancing of everything, you know. I would say, like, just doing life outside of ministry. um because I think deep down innately in, I guess, let me speak for myself. You don't want to drop the ball when it comes to particular areas, such as your marriage, when my family expands. You don't want to drop the ball with that, and you want to go after everything that God has set for you to go after, but you want to do it in a way that is still honors everything that you have been called to steward. And so I would say just that mentorship, man, just that input, just someone to just say, you know what, nah, like, your character, nah, that's not gonna work. Or you need to, what I'm saying, like, someone to just be bold enough to do it with love and with grace,
So,
and not,
no,
yeah,
continue.
yeah, to do it with love and grace, and to do it, from a place of, I'm using the word friendship loosely, but from a place of friendship, from a place of rapport as well. And I think we just need more mothers in the faith. We've got many fathers. Well, we need more fathers, yes, but I feel like we do need more mothers in the faith as well, just to pour into us and to just really speak into our lives and to
Okay, let
assure.
me ask a question. Are there any forums that you are a part of where you're interacting with older
Older women.
women?
I wouldn't say that I'm part of any forums, but I do know some phenomenal older women, that, from my previous church as well. So we're very much connected to our
Okay.
previous church. Yeah. And the women there are amazing. They're supportive. And so, like, I know that I have access to women, that, are gladly open to pour. But I think, like, I don't think you can have too many mentors or too many people to speak into your life, if I'm honest with you. And the reason why I find that they are a gift is also because they're not afraid to be like, I hope you and your husband are good. I
Okay.
hope that, what I'm saying, like, they're real. I can relate to what they're saying. There's nothing off the table with them. And I feel like we need more of that. So yeah.
Okay, that's interesting to hear.
Yeah.
So you have served and you've ministered to a lot of people over the years. I'm going to assume that you have ministered
Mhm.
to a lot of people over the years. Can you share like 3 examples of how your ministry has impacted people? And I'm just going to repeat again, you are an author, a
Mhm.
content creator, you've contributed to the You app, the Bible app, which I understand has been downloaded over 500 million times. She's laughing. Plus, you do your coffee and prayer ministry, and you're a co-pastor of a church. So you are touching hundreds, thousands of lives.
Yeah, yeah. So how have three ways that I've
Your ministry's impact. So it's someone could say, get up, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. You know, I went to prayer and coffee morning with Susan Deborah, and this is what, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would say, yeah, coffee and prayer has been one of the major ways. We get hundreds of women that come in or engage with our stuff online and even in person. So I would say like that is one way. I would say my story as well. People are always impacted with my journey, my personal journey. And so I would say that way. You version, as you have mentioned, is another way, but also in like Instagram, online, you know, my podcast. That's another way for me to kind of speak to people and to really meet them where they are. And so yeah, I would say those are the mediums that I could say that people have come back and said, you know what, this really changed the way that I thought of myself, or it really healed my relationship with my mom, or it did this or X
Do you
and
have any
whatnot.
specific stories or incidents where people have come and kind of detailed how your
Um,
ministry has helped them?
um,
You don't
okay,
write them
so
down, you must write them
I
down.
know, I know, I know. It's there's so many. I should just keep a folder because people email and stuff like that. I would say one particular young lady actually, we had a retreat for coffee and prayer, I believe in 2019. And she came, she attended, and she was going through so much just with her child and all of that type of stuff. And um she was at breaking point, and I remember like we had like a campfire type of thing, and I remember we stayed together as a group, and I just really prophetically spoke to her and really just, yeah, like really really prayed with the other women. And you know, 2 years later she actually came back at the top of this year, and she was just at that moment revolutionized my whole life. Like, if you see the way that my life has just transformed just based on that moment, and everything you've done after that, you know, it's touched me. And so for me that was very impactful. It actually made me cry because I was just like, wow, like, you think you're doing something simple, something that comes really naturally to you, but really you take for granted the impact of it, right? So that really humbled me and really reminded me that, okay, this is here for a reason, you know, and sometimes you need that. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. There's a lot of women, young women, I'm sure, who are feel that you are inspiring and who feel called to ministry. What
Mm.
three what three pieces of advice? Let me collect myself. There's a
Yeah.
lot there's a lot of women who feel inspired to go into ministry. What
Mm.
three pieces of advice would you give them if they feel that call to serve the
To
Lord in that way?
ministry, yeah, I would say number one, serve. You know, serve. Like, I don't care what you do, serve. Like, we underestimate that. I know people want to go straight to the top and all of that, but those are your most precious years. Those are your most groundbreaking years. Those are the years that you really do get deeper with the Lord. And that's the second thing I would say. Like, your relationship with the Lord is so important. You know, it's so important because, like, your heart, your mind, you know, your view of God, your theology, like, that's so so important. Especially if you want to just be popular and have accolades, then take those two out, you know. But if you want to go far and leave legacy, go with God. And so I would say, yeah, your relationship with the Lord. And thirdly, have the right people around you, you know. Be accountable, you know, have someone that can check you. Don't have only yes people around you. Not everyone's all bad, but have people that are not afraid of you to tell you when you're wrong. And so your community in essence. So that's what I would say.
Okay, and last but not least, what exciting plans do you have for your ministry in the next few months?
in the next few months? Well, we have our coffee and prayer gathering event next week. That's on the 4th of December. We have a week of devotion, prayer, fasting, all of that. And then we have the in-person event on the Saturday. Next year, we have so much planned. I really have a heart and a desire to really elevate the conversation with Christian women when it comes to emerging and really stepping into who you are in the marketplace and really taking ground. And so I'm really looking forward to our brunch, our digital content, our master classes, and really launching an app as well, so that there is a community of women that have one another to pray with one another. So I'm really excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It took a long time to kind of get this interview
I know.
organized, but I'm really, really excited that I had the opportunity to talk to you and to hear your story, your passion for young people, and the fact that you're moving now into marketplace ministry to encourage women. And well, you run a church, so it'd be to encourage everybody in terms of their business gifts. So that sounds really, really exciting. So thank you, Susan Deborahs, for sharing with us your ministry journey. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.